What's up, guys? There's a video I've been kind of wanting to make for you for a while, just kind of revolving around the topic of creating efficient hunts. For me, as I watch myself kind of progress over the years, I can get caught up on a lot of rabbit trails, a lot of very popular rabbit trails, just stuff that I hear other people doing, hunting beds, hunting swamps, being scent free, like. Each one of these could technically be like its own topic, its own video. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I get distracted a lot. And then at the end of the season, I realize I have a limited amount of days to hunt. I have, I'm only going to get in so much hunting. How do I make the most of it? How do I create these super efficient hunts to where when I do go out, I feel like my odds of that I'm in the right spot, in the right tree, or in the right ground setup are super high. So essentially, when I broke down everything that I do, whether it's preseason, during season, or postseason, that equates to a deer being killed, it comes down to these 5 things. So I'm just going to go over them real quick for you. The state or region that you're living in, the quality of land in that region, the pressure that's being applied where you're hunting, the amount of time you're able to invest into hunting, scouting, etc., and the big buck savvy that you as an individual have accumulated. And so if you were to create a bar graph with each one of these 5 things to kind of rank where you're at, I'm just going to do a hypothetical 1 to 10. So I'm just going to kind of go through based on where I hunt, my situation, and kind of rank where I would put myself. Then you could probably do the same thing at home just to try to get an idea of, hey, what does my actual hunting season look like? Yeah, I found this helps me a lot when I look at other people and I can just kind of go through these 5 categories with that person and just think, okay, this is why they're really having this quality or this level of efficiency and success in the field. So the first one, your state or your region. Obviously, everybody knows there's certain states that are better for big bucks than others. Michigan, where I'm from, where I live, isn't one of the top states for big bucks, but we have a lot of deer, and we have some pretty decent bucks too. There are some states that are just known for having big bucks, and a lot of them. You've got Kansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio, Kentucky. There's a bunch of states. Some of them I've hunted, some of them I haven't. I can only speak to the ones that I have, but I can tell you, being a Michigan boy, growing up here in Michigan, Southwest Michigan, I would consider we have some of the best big buck hunting in the state where I live right here. But the first out-of-state trip that I think we went on, well, the first one was North Dakota, but that doesn't really count. It was kind of a debacle. But the second one was Wisconsin. And I know everybody doesn't look at Wisconsin as being maybe a top big buck state, which I don't know why, because they're like the top producer of Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett records, just period. But we went out to the bluff country in Wisconsin, and what we were finding and seeing on public land just was freaking blowing our minds. Like, we were finding, telephone pole size rubs everywhere. Rubs just in general everywhere. Like, in Michigan, we'd find a good cluster of rubs, and we're like, oh man, there's a big one in this area. Down there, it didn't even matter. Like, we were walking through just huge clusters of rubs because we're like, well, we don't know if he's here or not, We just got to go find the deer, got to figure out where they're at right now. Part of that had to do just with the style of hunting we were doing with the run and gun, hunting the rut type of hunting, but just the overall quality of deer hunting over in bluff country in Wisconsin was like way better than what we were used to, and we were just frankly blown away by it. I hunted Kansas this past year. Those videos will be dropping this fall. I loved Kansas. I can't say enough good things about Kansas. The quality of land, everything is just like on a different level. So until you've actually gone and hunted these other states and regions, it's hard to categorize or rank where you feel like your state is among those other states, if that makes any sense. You might not know how bad you have it in your state until you go and hunt another state. That was my situation. I didn't realize how hard it was to kill big bucks here in Michigan until I started trying to do it in other states, and I was like, holy crap. Like, if I had this land available to me, I would be going crazy. And then on the flip side, I've heard a lot of people from other states like Iowa and Kansas that gripe a lot about all the out-of-state pressure. Like, why do you guys have to drive all the way over here just to hunt our land? It's because they don't know how good they have it. They haven't gone and hunted these other states, so they don't have a mental rank of just how good their state is in comparison to other whitetail states. So then inside of, like the state would be like the region of the state, and that's pretty easy. Like I just talked about here in Michigan, in the southwest Michigan part of the state, which is some of the best big buck country in Michigan. Whenever I go to different states and hunt, I'm always looking at Pope and Young records, Boone and Crockett records. I'm looking at general cropland, ag country, like where are the big deer growing, where are they being taken, and because there's just parts of states that are just way better producing than other parts. I would say for me, gosh, I'm going to give it a solid 5, honestly. My state's not that great, I guess, if you're to compare it to other states, but my region on my state is pretty dang good. So I would give it probably like a 4 or a 5 at least. I wouldn't go above that because I've hunted some other states, so I know what there is out there, but solid 4 or 5. Next up is the quality of the land that you're hunting. So if you're to go down one more bracket from region would be the quality of the land that you have. So this has to do with how much ag do you have, what's the cover like, is it a lot of big mature hardwoods where it's hard to find pockets that hold deer, or do you got a lot of thick brushy country? Does it just hold and grow deer? So even in the worst states out there, if you've got really good quality land that you're hunting, you can have some really great hunts. I would consider where I hunt probably like an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 when it comes to the quality of the land. I'm in ag country, tons of crops, very, very thick cover wherever there is cover. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, there's some pretty decent cover that will hold deer. As far as the entire general state, like as far as what I would prefer to hunt, I would give it a solid 8, just because there's probably better quality land than what I'm hunting, but I'd say what I'm hunting is pretty dang good. So then you got the pressure applied to the area that you're hunting. You might be like, I'm the only guy that's really putting any pressure on these deer. If I decide to not hunt it for a week, they don't get pressured for a week. That is amazing if you have spots like that. It's some of the hardest type of spots to get in Michigan. It's extremely hard to get permission in Michigan. The parcels are so small. There's just not a lot of big farms. The big farms that there are out there they're not privately owned. A lot of them are really huge corporations out there that are farming, and it's really hard to get in with those guys to get permission for places. And on top of that, just to be honest, land is very expensive here. When people do acquire land and they buy their own place, they really want to hunt it themselves. They want to be the only people out there. They don't want to just give permission out to everybody. So I know I might be talking to the choir for some people, because I know there's guys out there and they will pound the doors and they get permission in places that I would never think of getting permission. But it's probably even easier to get permission in like inner city, honestly. Like almost anything is better than the kind of properties that are around here in Michigan, just because people are very protective. They're very territorial with their property boundaries. I've knocked on a lot of doors and I've gotten a lot of no's. So I end up hunting a lot of public land. I do have some private land, but I end up hunting a lot of public land. So I would say, as far as this category goes, I would probably give myself like a 3. So the next category is time invested. And this is a really cool one, because you can have a lot of things going against you, but if you're able to invest a lot of time into it, you can come out with results that are far better than everyone else's. Now, if you're hunting land that's already really super good, private land that's got, ag and everything on it, and you have a lot of time to invest, well, your odds of success got to be pretty close to through the roof. But for me, this is one of those categories that I love because I can fudge it a little bit. And I would say with what I've been able to do, it's in this category, I'd give myself like a 9. Like, I've invested a ton of time. There's guys that probably are single and don't have a life, and they go out there and all they do is be in the woods. But I haven't actually ran into anybody like that. I feel like I would with the amount of scouting I do. And so I think that as far as the time that I've invested is pretty high up there compared to most people. And then number 5, the last category, big buck savvy. This is another cool one, because this is not something that somebody might have and you feel like you can't acquire it. It's not something that you get when you have a lot of money and you can purchase it. It's something that comes through just lots of experiences with big bucks, lots of time on the stand. The experience that you gather is your experiences. When you develop that gut feeling when you walk into a spot, and that tells you, yes, this is, big buck will be here, or no, like, get the heck out of here, don't even waste your time. When you can develop that sort of gut urgency that big buck savvy, that's something that you cannot put a dollar sign on. I don't care what odds somebody else might have over top of me. If I've got all the experience in the big buck savvy, give me anything. I'll out hunt anybody on that piece of land if I have all the experience. They don't. There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience hunting big bucks. They don't have that kind of experience and knowledge when they walk into a spot and they go, oh yeah, that's where I got to be. They might not know that. And that's where you get people trying to fudge these other categories. They try to get better land. They try to hunt private land that's not pressured as much. They go on out-of-state trips. Those all help a ton. But you cannot overlook having big buck savvy. Just look at the guys like, John Eberhart, Dan Infalt, some of these just killers. They weren't going to outfitters. Like, they didn't kill their big bucks because they were just constantly going out of state. Like, sure, maybe they went out of state a little bit here and there, but most of those bucks were all killed on their home turf, where they were killed on public land, areas that they just don't have high odds on. And people really look up to them because they can see that. They realize that those guys have something that I don't have. If you were to give those guys the same piece of property that you're hunting, you can almost bet your bottom dollar they'll probably figure it out better than you, and they'll probably be in the right spot and kill the best deer in that spot when you're not sure if you'd be able to find that spot and do the same. That's big buck savvy. So I don't really know where I would rank myself on this because I'm constantly learning, but I'd give myself probably at least a 5. I'm not horrible, but I also have a lot to learn. That's something that I feel like I do have a leg up on other guys with, but I am like there's some guys that the knowledge and the big buck savvy they've got just blows my mind. So I know there's tons of room for growth in this category. You probably have rated yourself between a 5 and a 50, somewhere in between. Probably all of you are like a 25, 30, somewhere in there. But there might be some guys that you look at and you're like, they're for sure 45, or they're 50. But at least you can maybe try to figure out why. You can kind of think through stuff a little bit more. I've had to do this a whole lot, especially with how the industry's kind of changed over the years, where it was mostly just all TV hunters that you were watching, and then now there's YouTube, and there's some DIY guys. Not that DIY guys are anyway superior to TV hunters, but there has been just a lot of stuff that us as hunters have kind of put on the DL when it comes to how are we making stuff happen, how are we killing big bucks on TV for video. Not that any of it's bad, but I think a lot of it should be kind of probably put more in the open, just so all of us people that are watching can get a more realistic idea of, is this something I can do? Because that's one of the most important things when it comes to watching hunting videos that inspires people, is when they see someone go out and do something and they think, my gosh, I could do that too. So I know for me, when I look at it, it's real easy to just kind of figure out the areas that I need to grow in as a deer hunter. Big buck savvy for sure. I can always get better at that. Time invested, kind of capped off. If anything, it's probably going to go down over the years once we start having kids. But I know right away I can do better at finding better areas in my state to hunt, areas that aren't getting as much pressure. I can go and ask for more permission, try to get permission on some decent private ground, and I can invest more time doing more out-of-state hunts. Those have proved to be very, very efficient for me. Thanks, guys, for watching. Let me know if you like this video. Comment down below if you have any thoughts related to this topic. Subscribe. I've got lots more content coming your way, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.